Hello, this is Pastor Rick, and I want to welcome you to Lectionary Plus, preparing you for our worship here at Emmanuel Lutheran Church on October the 5th. Our texts are Luke 17, 5-10, and 2 Timothy 1, 1-14. Now, in Luke, let's start there where the disciples look to Jesus and say, increase our faith. Increase our faith. It's a beautiful request. It's a nice prayer. I hope that's our prayer from time to time, but the context matters here because Jesus has been talking about forgiveness and forgiving even your enemies 7 times 70. And when the disciples hear this, knowing that that's virtually impossible, then they say, well, increase our faith. Increase our faith so that we can forgive like you have requested. And there Jesus responds by talking about this mustard seed, what we often refer to in Sunday school as mustard seed faith. In other words, use that faith that you've been given. And even if you've been given a small amount of faith, as he says, you can tell this mountain to be moved and throw it into the sea. And we're all kind of shocked by this because we're probably thinking about other big projects that we wouldn't mind moving, elimination of poverty, racism, getting Congress to pass a budget, all these big ticket items, right? Climate change. We could all think about something that would be thrown into the sea, something that could be resolved with our mustard seed faith. But do we have that amount of faith? Always remembering, again, the text was first about forgiveness, knowing that that's also one of those big projects in our lives. There's always someone, usually in the family, right, that we just cannot forgive. And so then notice in the text, after he talks about mustard seed faith, the whole text turns and he says, oh, this is your work, right? And do we praise slaves for doing their daily work? No, we expect that. Now, let's not get caught up in the slavery issue here. That's not the point of the text. That was just the social arrangements of the time. Not positive, but that's what the social arrangements were. What he's saying is everyone's meant to do their work. Everyone's meant to do their job. Just like a slave, he says, and so you all, being a slave to Jesus, get to work. Use your faith. So that's how Luke 17 addresses this beautiful mustard seed faith. 2 Timothy 1, here Paul's talking to Timothy about this wonderful legacy of faith that he is to guard. And that comes through his mother Eunice and then his grandmother Lois. In other words, the faith has been passed down from generation to generation. That's one of Timothy's great advantages, right? He's got this wonderful inheritance of faith. And so mustard seed faith, yeah, how do you guard it? How do you nurture it? How do you empower it? And that is important for Paul to encourage him to stay on that road of discipleship. And so now we want to move to the preacher for this week, October the 5th, which is me. And so let's now talk about some of the ideas that might come out of these texts. Well, we've got this wonderful phrase in Luke of mustard seed, like a mustard seed faith. And that doesn't let us off the hook. Because sometimes we think, oh, I'm not someone with a large faith. Oh, the saints, they had a big faith. They had faith that could move mountains. But I'm just a simple Christian. What can I do? And here Jesus doesn't let us off the hook, right? If you have just the faith of a mustard seed, the smallest of faiths, you can do some amazing things. Now, I want to point out, we will talk about the millennial saint in the Roman Catholic Church. That was positive last week because basically he used his mustard seed faith and reached out to millennials, right, with the gospel, using technology when he was only 15 years old. That was the whole idea of making him a saint, to lift up that a 15-year-old boy with mustard seed faith could move mountains. And so we want to focus in on the sermon about what mountains has God called you to move? What faith has God given you? And how can we practice our discipleship by applying, using what God has given us through the Holy Spirit, small as it might be. So look forward to seeing you in worship. Look forward to seeing you worship God on Sunday. Bring your mustard seed faith with you. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye now.